Good afternoon, learners from the Northern Cape and also those learners from the Western Cape. Welcome to this Business Studies Revision Telematics session. I trust that you had a fruitful day, that you did some studying, and that you are nice, relaxed now and ready for this revision presentation that we're going to offer this afternoon. I'm not alone this afternoon. I'm being joined by my co-presenter, and I'd like to introduce her, Melanie. Welcome back. It's been quite a long time since we've had you in front of the cameras again, eh?
Yes. No, thank you, Leicester. Welcome, learners. I look forward to an interactive session today.
Indeed, Melanie, the emphasis will be on interactive, and Melanie will explain that to you later on. Melanie, let's just see quickly, remind the learners of about that SMS number.
Learners, we're going to be asking you questions. Please SMS your answers to 31498 as soon as you have it. And let's see how many questions we can get through today.
Yes, the number again is 31498, and we're going to see which school respond the fastest, because you're going to have quite a few Section A short questions. Melanie, the format and the structure of the examination question paper.
Okay, Lisa.
We'd like to talk
about
that a little bit.
Let us just quickly give them an overview of the paper. So if you'll do the animations there. Learners, going to the PowerPoint, remember that your paper is out of 300 marks and that you are going to be writing out, well, question 1 will be in section A, and that's usually for 40 marks. And in question 1 you'll encounter multiple choice questions. Then you will also encounter different other questions where you may be asked for one word or one concept for a statement. And another section there may be the matching of a concept in column A to statements or definitions in column B. So we're going to be looking at that in a little while, but before we do that, let's also look at what happens in section B. Section B, you will have 3 compulsory questions, namely question 2, 3 and 4. Each of those questions will be out of 60 marks, and in those questions you will be confronted with different types of questions. So you would have different direct questions. For example, name the role of trade unions.
Or the functions of trade unions.
Or the functions of trade unions.
And the functions of that workplace forums.
Yes. Or discuss the grievance procedure.
Okay.
Or another famous direct question would be the quality of performance within the marketing business function.
Or the functions of the Johannesburg Security Exchange.
There we go. So those are the types of questions that you could expect as a direct question. Then we would have the case study or the scenario type questions, and Leicester's personal favorite, the calculations of interest or investments. In section C, you know that usually our section C starts with question 5. There are 4 essays, always 4 essays set. You are to choose 2 when you are answering your question paper, and each of those essays can be virtually anything. And so essay preparation is very important, learners, and we'll look at that also a little bit later. We have been reminding you in each session, so we'll just look at possible questions if there's some time. So in total, just a recap: question 1, compulsory, multiple choice or one word or matching columns for 40 marks. Questions 2, 3 and 4 for a total of 180 marks. And then questions 5, 6, 7 or 8, you're going to choose 2 for 80 marks. Lisa, let's move on.
Yes, Mel, just important that when they do answer these questions, that they write each new question on a clean page.
Yes, and there's also no harm in starting your exam with the essay questions, provided you mark it clearly. I always suggest that you start with essay questions, especially since you are freshest at 9 o'clock in the morning. And if you mark it question 5, if that's the option you choose very clearly, and start the next essay on a new page and mark it clearly, the examiner or the person's marking your paper definitely won't mind.
Okay, Melanie, right, let's get the ball rolling.
Okay.
You said we are going to concentrate on section A type questions.
Yes.
Okay, so the first instruction, what does that instruction says?
Learners, the first instruction is something that's not unfamiliar but needs to be read carefully. Various options are provided as possible answers to the following questions. Choose the answer and write only the letter, options A or B or C or D, next to the question number in the answer book. And the question reads, which is not a procedure of the selection process?
Alright, learners, so we want you to respond. The SMS number is 31498, which is not a procedure of the selection process. And you've got literally 10 seconds in which to SMS that answer to us. Mel, is that a typical multiple choice question? Is that the structure of the question?
I would say that is a typical multiple choice question, although it could be phrased in a slightly more difficult manner as well, and we'll encounter those a little bit later on. Learners, something that you should take note in the multiple choice questions, always look for the clues.
Yeah.
And so if you look at that question, which is not a procedure of the selection process, first of all, the clue not, and then in terms of the content, selection process. And this takes you to your HR function. And so we all know what the steps are in the selection process. And so start by eliminating the most obviously wrong answer.
Yeah, Melanie, so they just need to distinguish between the human resource procedure and human resource activities.
That is correct. And there we have an answer from visitor, and this person is saying the answer is B.
Yes, the number is the last 4 digits, 4762. And the correct answer B. Let's see quickly, Melanie, if that's the correct answer.
Absolutely, Leicester.
Brilliant, great stuff. That was good.
Yeah.
And I trust that more learners from other schools will also respond. Remember, the number is 31498. We're going through a revision process, and we're looking at type of questions you can expect to get in section A. Melanie, question number 2.
Let's move on to the next one. And so the question reads, which form of ownership is not a legal entity? Learners, SMS us your answer, and while you are SMSing the answer, let's look for the clues here. The clue here is form of ownership, and again, not a legal entity. And then if you look at the options presented in A, we have Felty Pty Proprietary Limited. That should already tell you what that means. B, Felty CC, C, Felty Traders, and D, Felty Limited.
Melanie, we must just mention that if a form of ownership has a legal entity or is an illegal entity, it simply means that it can act as a natural person, and that form of ownership can sue in its name, and it can also be sued in its name. And so we've got Bongani High. Learners, welcome to the learners from Bongani High, and they've responded with C. Is that the correct answer?
That is correct.
Let's see quickly. Great stuff, Bongani. Great stuff. That is well done. Let's see if we can get the next one.
The next question reads, which is not a factor that influences an individual's career choice in exploring a business career? Again, look for the clues, learners. The options are A, family contacts, B, interest, C, financial implication, and D, risks. The clue is not a factor that influences an individual's career choice in exploring a business career.
Alright, and learners can also learn from this process, because 3 of those answers there are then factors that influence an individual's career choice in exploring a business career. So 3 are factors and 1 is not a factor. Let's see quickly. You've got 5 seconds left. See if we can get that answer from 4762 or from learners attending Bongani High.
Leicester.
Yes, Melanie?
Come, let's give them the answer.
Must we give them? There is an answer coming through also from
visitor.
Now that is Bongani High. I'm sure that 0500 is Bongani High learners, and they answered A. And let's see quickly, is that the answer? Yes, 100%. I can see the learners really, they know their work, but it's going to become more difficult as the minutes progresses. Let's see the next one.
Let's go. The next question is, which one of the following will most likely be included in the salary slip? Now, all of you know what the salary slip is, so that's a clue in itself. Your options are A, housing allowance, B, rates on private property, C, electricity, D, bank service charges.
I think it's a bit of an unfair question because most of these learners never ever received the salary slip yet, but if you didn't, please ask your educator sitting next to you if any of those items appear on their salary slip. By the way, they got paid today, it's the 15th?
Yeah.
Okay, but those educators that are still with their learners, we really appreciate that. Did we get an answer? No, we didn't get the answer yet.
Learners, just look at the obviously incorrect first of all. And Lisa, I think that learners are quite aware of salary slips. Most learners have weekend employment, I think, or part-time employment, so by now they're fairly familiar with it.
And if you're not familiar, please go home this afternoon and go and ask your parents or a neighbor or a family friend if any of those items appear on their salary slips. Okay. Right, Mel, let's give them the answer. We didn't get the answer yet, so let's give them the answer. The answer is housing allowance, and that's one of the benefits that we got an answer there. No, we didn't get the answer yet
for that one.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits. Right, let's see the next one. The next question, Melanie.
The next question, Leicester, is hydroelectricity plants generate hydroelectricity by fast flowing water. This business forms part of which business sector? A, the primary sector, B, secondary sector, C, tertiary sector, D, informal sector.
And Melanie, the clue here is the word generate.
Yes.
They generate electricity by using fast flowing water.
Yes.
And that we call hydroelectricity.
And learners, this is an example of a fairly, I think, middle order multiple choice question. It's not as straightforward as it looks, so you need to think about it for a second or two, and then just remember to SMS us your answer.
Yes, other industries that are part of the secondary sector would be your construction industry,
yes,
your manufacturing industry,
yes,
and then also the generation of electricity and water.
Yeah.
So, which sector is that? Oh, I've given away quite a few clues now.
I think you've given away the clues.
Did I give the answer?
Possibly even the answer.
And the answer, right. We've got, again, visitor B.
Yeah.
Visitor says the answer is B. Let's see quickly.
He or she is correct.
Yes, 100%. It's part of the secondary sector. Right, let's move.
Right.
The next one.
The next question is, what kind of unemployment is caused by an economy in a recession and leads to an increase in the redundancy of jobs?
And the options are seasonal, A, structural, B, cyclical, C, and frictional, D. Yes, you've got to know a little bit about your economics in order to answer this question immediately. But I'm sure your educators cover this also in your business studies. Right, let's see quickly. Which type of unemployment is caused by an a recession in the economy? Or an economy in a recession. A recession in the economy. Which one is it? Seasonal, structural, cyclical, or frictional?
I think we should help them out a little bit there, Leicester.
Linus, what happens here? Let me just explain to you. If you can just get the overhead camera shot. We've got what is called your business cycle. It looks something like that. And those of you will know that from year to year is your prosperity phase. When unemployment is high, income levels are high, people are spending like there's no tomorrow. And the minute it moves past this maximum point, the economy moves into a recession. And during this period, from there to there, people start losing their jobs, we find retrenchments, and generally the economy starts slowing down. And this is where the start of the unemployment or the unemployment starts increasing. The minute it moves below that line, it's called a depression. And then your unemployment is even worse. Now, when we move, this is the trough, the lowest point, and as soon as it moves beyond the trough, we get what is known as a recovery phase. Once we get the recovery phase, we move above the line, then it's again prosperity. And when it moves beyond that maximum point, we get a recession. And so you can see we had a recession here and we had a recession here. So a recession will repeat itself. And when it repeats itself, it's called a cyclical unemployment.
There we go. That's a brilliant explanation, learners. It's also an easy way to remember that something happens in a cycle.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to the next question.
Right, to the next one. So the answer was C.
The next question, and Leicester likes these types of questions. Learners, again, this is slightly more difficult as a multiple choice question. SIPO has recently received an amount of 2,000 Rand as a dividend from an investment from MTN. This investment was in the form of A. Fixed deposits, B. Bonds, C. Shares, D. Fixed property.
Melanie, I'm going to venture and say that the examiners mustn't underestimate the intelligence of our learners.
Absolutely.
They will get this 100% of the time correct. I guarantee you, because we covered this in the section called investment opportunities. So I'm sure if we had 100 learners sitting there watching us now,
know the answer
all of them
immediately.
all of them will know that answer. But let's give them another 5 seconds, see quickly if the answer comes through. Come, learners. This investment was in the form of what type of investment opportunity? SIPO received a dividend. No, I think they've got a problem with airtime.
Few of them are scratching their heads.
I don't think so. I think their answer came through.
Yeah.
Again, we don't have the name, but the answer is C.
Yes.
Is that the only answer we're going to get today?
It's correct.
I told you there's 100 learners. We'll get all the learners responding in the same way. Let's see quickly if that is the correct answer. I told you. Examiners, please don't underestimate the intelligence of the business studies learners in the Northern Cape. Right.
All right, the next question.
The next one.
Remember, learners, in question 1, you will have 10 multiple choice questions. Employees enjoy tax deductions when contributing towards this fund. A. Unemployment insurance fund. B. Lottery. C. Motor vehicle accident fund. D. Retirement annuity fund.
Yeah, we must just apologize for
the spelling error.
Error.
There's more than one spelling error there.
Indeed.
And apologies, learners.
Right.
Start by eliminating the obviously incorrect answer. It jumps out at you. And so we're waiting for you to SMS the answer. The clue here is enjoys tax deductions.
Bongani High. Melanie, we've got an answer from Bongani High.
And they say
it's D. I wonder if there's another school that will perhaps respond with another answer. Bongani High says D, retirement annuity fund. What happens? Your contributions, they get deducted, from your taxable income.
Yes.
And if your taxable income is less, it simply means you're going to pay less tax. Bongani High, great stuff. The answer is, let's just see quickly before we confirm it. Yes, the answer is D. Bongani High is on the ball.
Moving on to the next question. The following are components or perspectives of the Balance Scorecard. Which one is not a perspective? A. Sales perspective. B. Customer. C financial, D learning perspective. Again, look for the obviously incorrect one first. And then by process of elimination, work your way to the correct answer.
Right, so again learners, you will then we'll be able to identify 3 components of perspectives because there's only one incorrect answer. So the other 3 are indeed components of the Balance Scorecard. Let's see quickly, do we have an answer there?
I don't think.
No, we don't
quick
get an
enough.
answer. I think there's learners trying to get through and there could be problems with the SMS line. Just remind them of the number again, Melanie. That number is 31498.
That is correct.
Right, let's see quickly.
Let's
The
give
answer
them
is,
the
learners,
answer.
A. Sales perspective is not part of as a component of the Balance Scorecard. Right, let's see the next one.
And so the last multiple choice question that we have for you today. Wholesalers who purchase goods from a clothing manufacturer would be part of the clothing manufacturer's which environment? A. Micro, B. Market, C. Macro, or D. Technological?
Yes, I'm sure the learners are going to get this one correctly. Correct. Wholesalers who purchase goods from a clothing manufacturer would be part of the clothing manufacturer's environment. You've got to work backwards now.
They must work backwards, but there are good clues there too.
Yes.
So
which one is the correct answer? Let's see quickly. Do we get a response? No, we did not get a response, Melanie. Let's see the answer. The answer is
please B.
B. Market environment. Right on.
Alright, and so now let's move on to other types of questions that you could encounter in question 1 of section A. And this is the section where you could give one word for each of the following. And the statement is, when a country exports its unwanted products to another country, what do we call that?
Yes, when a country exports its unwanted products to another country, and what happens, they sell those products in the other country at a price lower than the cost of production. So they're actually selling it at a loss. But there's a reason behind that. Because once they've captured the market, they increase the price.
Yeah.
And so, did we get an answer there?
No.
No answer yet. And I think this is a popular question.
There we go.
When a country dumping, is it Cabo Mosasi? Cabo Mosasi, well done. Dumping.
Got the correct
yes,
answer.
Is that the correct answer?
That is the correct answer.
Brilliant. Cabo knows his or her concepts. Well done. Let's see the next
look
one.
at the next one.
Aha, this one is going to get them.
The institution set up in South Africa to ensure that people are treated in a fair and dignified manner. Now again, learners, you need to look at the clues. The institution, so that gives you a clue. And then, what does this institution do? It ensures that people are treated in a fair and dignified manner. Now think to allow 2 here. It will give you a little bit of a clue in terms of the issues you deal with there. For example, human rights, inclusivity and environmental issues. So just think about that for a second. And again, the institution. Do we have any answers yet, Leicester?
We don't have any answers, but there's another clue, right? People.
Yeah, people.
Another word for people, and it starts with that other concept we use for people. Let's just see quickly. There might come an answer through, not yet. Let's see quickly. It is the Human Rights Commission. Right, learners? So if you never knew that answer, please take note of that question and answer. Now, the next one.
The next statement is, and Leicester, you like this, the return received from investing in the shares of a company.
Was this in a previous question paper? This question?
It could have been even asked differently.
Yeah.
Or it could have been an option in a previous question asked a few minutes ago.
Okay,
So,
it's just another way of putting.
Another way of phrasing or getting this particular concept.
Yes, Mel. Yes, Mel. You referred to the fact that I like this kind of questions because it deals with money, investment opportunities.
There we go. And
Right there. From Hotazel Combined School. Learners, this is the first time that we've got that school, Hotazel Combined School. Welcome to you, learners and educators. And then also, and they responded correct. They said dividends. And then we also had a visitor who said dividends. And let's see quickly if that's the correct answer.
And the answer
absolutely
is
correct. Thank you for that and well done.
Right, let's move on to the next concept.
Now, learners, you will discover that these kind of questions are quite easy if you know the answers. So you've got to know your content in order to answer this type of questions.
Yeah.
Melanie, the next one.
A contribution to this fund will compensate people who are injured on public roads in South Africa due to the negligence of other road users. Now, again, learners, this particular fund is known to you. It's located in LO2 in the section of insurance, the different types of insurance, compulsory and non-types of compulsory insurance.
Yes, this will be an example of compulsory insurance.
Reminding them that there are those two sections in their books, in their notebooks.
Yes, and just another word of caution or advice. The answer, you've got to write the answer out in full. Try and avoid abbreviations.
Correct.
Write the answer out in full to get the full marks.
Correct.
And we have the visitor responding with the road accident fund. Let's see quickly if that's the correct answer.
Well done.
Great stuff. Melanie, I think that was the end of...
No, there's
Is
one
there another
more.
one? Another one? Let's
Another
see quickly.
one word. 4. And this one is also easy if you know the... Well, it would be easy. The structure of a country's population in terms of its race, culture and or religion.
Yes, it's not a common question.
No, it isn't.
Maybe we should tell them it starts with a D. The first letter is a D. And even that might not be enough.
Business studies learners are, they're fairly on the ball.
You reckon they're going to get the correct answer?
Definitely.
Okay, let's see quickly. I'm sure if it is a correct answer, it's going to come from Bongani High. What do you think?
I don't know. I think we should give them the answer and move on to the next
Do you think we
type
should
of
go to
question that
because
could be found.
time is running out.
Time may catch us.
Yes, indeed. Learners, the answer is demographics. Demographics refers to the structure of a country's population in terms of race, culture, and religion. Melanie, the next one.
Right, learners, now another way or a different way of asking a question again. Choose the correct concept that matches the description below. The key here is the concept is given to you. You just have to link the concept to the statement that we are going to read. And so the options are arbitration, SABS, inclusivity, quality control, creativity, strategy, insubordination, SAQA, skills development, collective bargaining, divestiture, shortlisting. Just a little clue. It's always good to read through your options first before you read your statements. Once you do that, you have an idea of what the options are and you may find linking them to be easier. And so a plan of action to achieve a goal is commonly or is known as a, and again just the SMS line 31498. So you have 2 seconds to get your answer in. Otherwise Leicester will give you the answer.
Yes, let's give them. We've got an answer again from a visitor. I would like that visitor. I wonder if it's 5588. Visitor, please identify yourself so that we can acknowledge you. And thank you for that answer. It's called a strategy. Well done. The next one.
A logical way to end conflict because the mediation process is deadlocked.
A logical way to end conflict because the mediation process is deadlocked. What do we call that? It's the last process in conflict resolution.
Here we go.
You will recall the first one is called conciliation.
Yes.
The second one is called mediation. And the third one is called, what's the third one? Alright, do we have an answer?
Give them
no answer yet?
Maybe.
The third one is called arbitration. So we're going to get the
A.
C, Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and
Arbitration.
Arbitration. It's the last process.
That's a good way to remember it as well, learners. So when you're going over your work, especially conflict resolution, Leicester's just given you a good tip there.
Okay, the next one.
Enhances solutions to complex problems. Also located in LO3, learners. And so the options that have already been provided, you could also work out by process of elimination what this answer is. And Leicester, I think I'm going to be generous and give them the answer.
You're going to give them the answer.
And the answer is creativity.
Creativity. Thank you, Melanie, for that. The next one.
Enables diversity in the workplace.
Now, this concept and that statement goes hand in hand. A word, this word, diversity,
Yes, and the concept.
and the concept goes hand in hand. They're almost like, what do you call them? Cousins?
They could be cousins.
They could be cousins.
Yeah, they could be cousins.
They could be cousins. They go hand in hand. Diversity and one of these concepts. Let's see quickly. No answer coming through, Melanie. We give them the answer.
Yeah, I think so.
The answer is inclusivity. Inclusivity. Right, the next one.
Right. Promotes standardization and quality products and services. So,
Yeah, it's an institution.
yeah.
Which institution promotes standardization and quality products and services? Now, there are not many institutions here.
Yeah,
So-
in the options listed, there aren't many institutions. So again, learners work by process of elimination.
And the answer is the South African Bureau of Standards, eh? South African Bureau of Standards. Is there another one now?
Right, now we're moving on to scenario type questions.
Yes,
But
we just had an
before we
answer from
do-
4762.
Yeah.
4762, the answer is the South African Bureau of Standards.
Yeah. Learners, we're moving on to a section B type question now. It's a scenario type question. And so I'll read it to you and then we're going to answer 2 or 3 direct questions. Meryl Pillay matriculated in 1996. Her strong subjects at school were accounting and business studies. Owing to financial constraints, she could not study further and was forced to accept a job as a cleaner in a clothing factory. Meryl started working in January 1997 and earned a time-related wage of 3 Rand per hour. Her frustration soon led to her seeking employment elsewhere. In 1998, she found a job as a cleaner in a local bank. Very soon, her manager recognized the potential, and through the relevant CETA, she improved her skills and qualifications.
Okay, learners, that is the case study. Melanie, would it be advisable that before you read the case study to read the questions first?
Yes, and in this case, they don't have the option of reading the questions, so I'll just read the first question while we leave that slide there so that they can just look and see if they don't possibly find the answer there. And so the first question, learners, explain what is meant by a time-related wage. And if one goes to the slideshow and you look, just go one down, Leicester, there we go. And you look more or less in the 4th line.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6th line. She started working in January 1997 and earned a time-related wage of 3 Rand per hour.
Okay, so
What is meant by a time-related wage?
again, learners, that just emphasizes the fact that your answers are not necessarily in the case study, but you must use the information in the case study to get to your answer.
Not all the information will be in the case study, you're correct
Yeah.
there.
Righto, so the next question now, are we going to give them that one also, or must we go to the question?
I think we can go to the question. And I don't see any answers coming in yet.
Explain what's meant by time-related wage. Melanie, time is not on our side now,
No,
so let's
it's
just give them the
not.
answer
So
quickly.
let's give the answer to them. And the answer is Your earnings that are calculated according to the time you work. Would you like to add anything else, Leicester?
Yes, so a simple example would be if you work 30 hours in a week, you will be paid 30 for those 30 hours and not a cent more.
Yeah.
If it's not time related, it can also be piecemeal. Piecemeal, where you get paid according to the quantity of products that you produce.
Yes.
Okay, that is the other alternative.
Right, the next question, learners. Give a possible reason as to Meryl's frustration in her first job. Now, again, there could be more than one answer, and I think maybe if you just go back to that particular slide so they can see it.
And the context is also, remember, Meryl she's got a matric certificate.
Yes.
And she's getting a job as a cleaner.
Yes.
And she's getting paid R3 per hour.
So there could be more than one answer to this question. Give a possible reason as to Meryl's frustration in her first job. And our learners are very quiet now, Lisa.
Yeah, now it's going to take quite a while to type the answer.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons could be because she did not enjoy what she was doing.
Yeah.
She was bored. Another reason could be they only paid her R3 an hour.
She wasn't happy with the money
she got paid.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next question. Explain what you understand by vertical and horizontal career pathing. And so, learners, here you are required to give a very basic definition for 2 marks for vertical career pathing as well as horizontal career pathing.
Melanie, maybe we'll just illustrate to them quickly. Vertical is simply moving up.
Yes.
Either up or down.
Yes.
And then horizontal
is moving sideways.
Horizontal would be sideways. So, what would be the definition of vertical and horizontal career pathing? It's going to take quite a while, so let's just give them the answer. Vertical means moving to a level above. So, for example, if you are at this level, if it's vertical career pathing, then it's moving to a level higher up.
Higher than where you are.
For example, a normal educator can become head of department.
Yes.
And the head of department can then become deputy principal at the same school, moving vertically. Or he can become principal. So you can move from here right up to there. That's called vertical career pathing. Yeah. Is that right, Mels?
That is correct. And horizontal would simply then mean career moves that are on the same level. For example, and staying with the teaching example, an educator moving from one school perhaps to another school in the same post level. For example, as a business studies teacher moving from
say from the Northern Cape
to the
moving to the Western Cape.
School in the Western Cape.
Yes. Business studies.
Learners, so Leicester's given you a few hand tips today to assist you in working out what the possible answers could be. But remember, you do need to know the definitions, and that would be found in LO3.
Melanie, just going back to this case study.
Yes,
Meryl's career pathing that she had. When she moved from that factory, she worked at the factory as a cleaner.
Yeah.
And then she moved to the bank also as a cleaner. So that would be what kind of? That would be horizontal. Great. But when she got to the bank, she started off as a cleaner. But then she went through the CETA process to improve the qualifications and the skills.
And that means that she could then start making another kind of career move.
Yeah.
She could move from being a cleaner to possibly being a bank teller.
And then it's not horizontal anymore.
Yes.
Then it's vertical.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
All right, let's move on to the calculation questions, Leicester.
Do we have time? Yes, we've got enough time. Learners, I trust that you've got your calculators, the scientific one, because we are going to consolidate the calculations of compound interest.
Now, you like these types of questions, Lisa, so
Yes, now
You have a few minutes to work through each of the examples, and learners, pay careful attention to Leicester because he will give you he'll give you good tips as to how to remember to do these calculations when you are practicing on your own.
absolutely, and the operative word is practice. The more you practice, the more your understanding of these calculations will improve. Learners, what's happening here? We already said it's compound interest. It's compounded annually once a year. The principal amount is R1,000. The interest rate is 9%. Remember, we said when we did the section on investment opportunities, we said that the interest rate we write as a decimal fraction. And how do you write it as a decimal fraction? You take 9% and you divide it by 100.
Just remind them to look at the whiteboard.
Yes, now they are. It's zoomed in on the whiteboard. So you take 9, and if you don't know, can't do it without using the calculator. Simply take 9, divide by 100, and the answer will be 0.09. Right, and then your time is 5 years. So, and we're going to do the first one, and we're going to ask you to do the second one for us. The period rate. Now, the period rate is the number of times that interest will be calculated. Now, here they tell us it's going to be calculated annually. So there's only one period of conversion. And that's why to calculate your period rate, you are going to take, your rate is 9%, 0.09, and you're going to divide it by 1. So your period rate is going to remain 0.09. The number of periods, now remember, it's for 5 years. So you're going to take 5 years, and it's compounded only once annually, so it's 5 times 1, and that is going to be 5. And so all you've got to do is you've got to substitute this information into your formula. Now let's just look at the formula quickly. There's your formula. This is the amount we want to calculate. This is the principal amount that has been invested. Open the brackets, 1 plus your interest rate. Close the brackets to the power of n. N is the number of conversion periods. Okay, we're not going to go through that. You know that already. So let's go back to that example. The period rate would be R divided by n, the number of conversion periods. So that is 0.09 divided by 1. The number of periods would be n multiplied by t. It's going to be 5 times 1. And if we substitute into the formula, we're going to get P 1000. Now that x, you don't have to write that x there.
Yeah.
That is just multiply. But when there's brackets, already that brackets tell you it's multiplication.
Yes.
So you don't have to write the x there. Then it's 1 plus 0.05, close the brackets, to the power of 0.09. That's right, to the power of 5. How do we calculate it? Put that information into our calculator. Right, let's clear that. The first amount is you take 1000. Now remember, you're working from your formula that you've substituted the other totals and amounts in. So it's 1000 times 1 plus 0.09 is equal to 1,09. So you say times 1.09. Have you got that? Then you look for this function on the calculator. Y to the power of x. Y to the power of x. You press that button. And then you look at the number of periods, 5. And your answer is 153862. 153862. That's the amount of principal amount and the interest. if they ask you what was the interest that was gained, the calculation is quite simple. You take 1538.62 minus your principal amount. So the interest you earned over the 5-year period was 538.62.
That sounds very interesting, Leicester. And I trust that the learners took the hint of the second function y to the power of x, because many of them forget about that once they are put under pressure.
Yes, Melanie, let's look at another example.
All right.
Okay, learners, what happened here? Interest is compounded semi-annually. So that means interest gets paid or calculated twice a year after every 6 months. So that's important. There are two, it's compounded twice yearly. The principal amount is P, 1,000. The interest rate is 9%. The time is 5 years. But now how many conversion periods are there going to be? It's going to be 5 times 2 because it's compounded semi-annually.
Correct.
What is the interest rate period going to be per conversion period? It can't be 0.09 because that is for a year. So we've got to calculate it for 6 months. How do we do it? We divide it by 2. And so if we substitute into the formula, it's going to be 1,000. And then it's 1 plus 0.09 divide by 2. If we divide by 2 at the bottom, then we must multiply by 2 at the top. That's important. And so let's put that into our calculator again. Let's cancel. So it's going to be 1,000. And we said, multiply
by 1.
By 1.045.
Yes.
Why 0.45? Because we've got to divide that by 2. And then we look for that function. Melanie, if you can see it here,
second function,
x to the power, y to the power of x. We press it once, and then we've got to put in how many periods were there. It's 5 times 2, it's 10, and the answer is 1552.97. Again, what is the interest? The interest would be 1552.97 minus 1,000, the principal amount. Interest is 552.97.
Okay.
Melanie, the last one. Now, quarterly. Learners must know how many conversion periods are there in a quarter.
Yeah.
Sorry, when it's quarterly, how many conversion periods are there in a year? So, let's count quickly. There's 1 quarter. Now remember, 1 quarter is 3 months.
Is giving me name.
Yeah, but 1 quarter is 3 months, so it's going to be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, so there is 4. So why is that important? Because we need to divide the interest rate by 4.
Yes.
And we need to multiply the period by 4. And let's put that in that information in our calculator and see what answer we get to. Melanie, so it's 500 multiplied by 1.02. Why is it 1.02? Because it's 0.8 divided by 4. And then we look for that function again.
Y to the power
of x. And then we say 12. And the answer is 634.12. 634.12. Interest would be 634.12 minus 500. 134.12 is our interest. We're not going to do the last one.
Can I use this opportunity to speak about essays, do you think?
Absolutely.
So that you just cover the entire question paper. So learners, your calculation type questions you will find in section B. And just a brief reminder about your preparation for essay writing. So I'm just going to remind you that your essays should have an introduction, a body and a conclusion. Please ensure that you write those words. Now it's not enough just to write those words, learners. I would like it if you just below the word introduction wrote 3 sentences that give us a very good idea of the concepts or of the question that has been asked. Now, Lisa and I have identified possible essay questions for you. And so looking at the slideshow, if you just take LO1, just your first topic, business environments, you can see on the screen that there are a whole host of questions that could be asked. And I want to focus your attention on the last 2 types of questions, the Porter's 5 forces and the Balance Scorecard. Now, I personally don't think, Lisa, that they would ask the Balance Scorecard on its own, or possibly even Porter's 5 forces model on its own. But if they did, what would you do? And so in your introduction, you would need to speak about the actual Porter's 5 forces model. What is it? Define it. And then in the main section of your essay, you would have to discuss all 5 of those different forces. The threat of new entrants, threat of substitutes, the bargaining power of buyers, bargaining power of suppliers, and the rivalry between competitors.
Learners, you can hear that Melanie is very passionate about these essays, and but unfortunately time has run out, Melanie.
Oh gosh, just
That's amazing, eh?
It
that
is.
when you're having fun, then time just flies.
They must just remember to write a conclusion as well.
Yes, but certainly next week when we do meet again and we've got another session, then you are going to have more time to talk to the essays, and then also I would like some more time for the calculations.
Here we go.
Because I'm sure the learners would appreciate us working through some more calculations and see if they can score marks there. Melanie, I really want to thank you for coming back on board and bringing some calmness to this studio, and also for the way in which you engage with the learners and to get some positive answers from them. Thank you very much. Learners, to you also, wherever you're sitting in the Western Cape or in the Northern Cape, thank you for your time and your effort, the sacrifice also. I'm sure you're going to bear the fruit of the extra effort you're putting in this afternoon and for the other sessions. I want you to enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Don't forget, next week we are going to be here, same time, and you're going to see the same faces. Goodbye and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.